Good morning, all of you. Today we shall discuss one of the most important and very interesting concepts of economics. As all of you can see, the concept that we are learning today is the law of DMU, or it is also called the law of diminishing marginal utility. Now let's try to understand what exactly these words mean. First one, what is the meaning of the word diminishing? Diminishing is something which is decreasing, which reduces. That's the meaning of the word diminishing. Now what is utility? Utility is the want satisfying capacity of a commodity. Say for example, I am thirsty, and what can quench my thirst? One of the liquids which can quench my thirst is water. So what is the property of water? The water's property is to quench my thirst. So what is utility? Utility is the want satisfying capacity of a commodity. My want in this example is to quench thirst, and water as a commodity has the capacity to satisfy that particular want. Now what does DMU explain or help us to learn is, when we consume n number of units of a given commodity, the utility that we derive out of it keeps on reducing. That's what DMU is all about. Let's take a schedule and a graph and try to understand how exactly DMU works. Okay, now let's take this example. Now if you look at this table, there are three columns. Now what are these columns all about? The first column is representing the units, the second column is representing the total utility, and the third column is representing the marginal utility. Now let us focus only on the first column. Now what is happening here? We are consuming the units that we are consumed is represented here, and each time the number of units that we are consuming is increasing. We start with 1, we end up at the 6th unit. It means that we have consumed 6 units. As and when we consume a unit of the given commodity, the total utility is increasing. When I consume the first unit, I got the total utility which is equal to 12 units. When I consume the second one, the total utility has become 20. When I go to the third one, the total utility is 26. When I go to the fourth one, it becomes 30, and when I consume the fifth one, it is still at 30. But when I consume the sixth unit, it is becoming 28. So what do we understand here? From this point, almost till this point, the utility that I am gaining is increasing. But from this point onwards, it appears to have either stagnated or even become negative. If you look at the first part once again, no doubt it has increased, but the rate at which it is increasing is actually slowing down. So that is what is represented in the last column under the marginal utility. Now what is marginal utility all about? Marginal utility is the utility gained by consuming one additional unit. Now let's go to the last column and understand the definition. When I consume the first unit, the marginal utility that I gained was 12 units. When I consume the second unit, the marginal utility is 8 units. How do I arrive, or how did I arrive at this 8? It is 20 minus 12. So what is the formula? What could be the formula for marginal utility? Marginal utility will be equal to TUN minus 1. This would be the formula. So applying the formula to the second column, we get the numbers which we have represented in the third column. 20 minus 12 is 8, 26 minus 20 is 6, 30 minus 26 is 4, 30 minus 30 is 0, 28 minus 30 is minus 2. So what is happening to the marginal utility? It is decreasing as and when we increase the number of units that we are consuming. So this whole concept is explained through this law called the law of diminishing marginal utility, which was first proposed by the German economist named Gaussen, and it was popularized by Alfred Marshall. Right, in this last bit, let's try to represent the total utility and the marginal utility on a sheet of graph on the axis. Now if you look at this graph, there are two axes. This is the x-axis and this would be the y-axis. This is the origin. Now on the x-axis, we have taken the number of units that we are consuming, and on the y-axis we are representing the utility that we are obtaining. Now what has happened here is when we consume the first unit, we had got 12 units of utility. So the starting point of both the lines is here. So what we understand is the total utility keeps on increasing and at the diminished rate, and after some time it reaches the maximum point and later on it decreases. But if you look at the marginal utility, from the word go, it keeps on decreasing. At some point it intersects with the axis. It means that at this point the value is 0, and after the intersection it further goes down. It means it is becoming negative. So what do we understand here? Total utility increases and later on it increases at a diminished rate. It reaches the maximum point and after that it decreases. Whereas marginal utility from the word go keeps on decreasing. It even becomes 0 and even negative. So this is represented using this graph. There is a very important point to be remembered here. When TU is at the maximum, MU is at 0. When TU starts to decrease, MU becomes negative. This is the point on which a lot of times questions are asked. Hope you remember this and do well. Thank you.